compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version. The Good Soldier Svejk and his fortunes in Kazakhstan. In Kustanai suburbs, there are typical blocks of flats, shops and a sports club, all making up a standard commuter town. Any city of Kazakhstan has these facilities. A street sign fits the scheme too. Really, why not immortalize the name of the author of the Good Soldier Svejk? However, the story doesn't appear simple. It didn't start here, but it went down in history as a masterpiece. So what is common between Jaroslav Hašek and Kazakhstan? Prague, our time. Svejk's servant told him that Ferdinand had been killed. A few years before, a medical commission had declared that he was mad and he had to leave the military service, get engaged in selling dogs, the ugly bastards, which he wrote fake pedigrees for. Hašek copied this shady business from his own working career, and he did the same with many other things. However, he didn't have time to write about the time he lived in Kazakhstan. It is the first attempt to trace the life of unflappable optimist Svejk. The head of the political department of the Army No. 5 said that he'd been diligent and reliable. Because of this, he was sentenced to be shot. A photo of Petropavlovsk and the street where he lived will be here. Chapter 1, in times of adversity. Of course, Svejk started fighting in World War I in Prague, but we can say that the idea of writing the book grew in our areas. Anyway, let's follow the route mapped out by Hašek himself. In summer of 1914, Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated. You should understand that it was a great loss to Austria. Of course it was a loss, because Ferdinand could not be replaced with a fool. As a result, the good soldier was arrested for a politically incorrect speech he made in the inn. The innkeeper was also arrested and punished for the portrait of the emperor with the flies sitting comfortably on it. The police department was crammed with conspirators, and afterwards he was sent to a lunatic asylum. It is impossible to retell the work by Hašek. One can only reread it. After wonderful radiant days Svejk spent in the asylum, he encountered adversity and persecution. Jaroslav Hašek was born in Prague in the family of a not very rich bank clerk. When his father died, he dropped out of school and started working in a pharmacy. However, it didn't last long. After that, all his life was like a journey, with short stops during which he studied at the trading academy, worked in a bank and got married. You can't understand whether a literary character or real person predominates in Svejk. Incidentally, the reverence he felt for the mental hospital is also among the things which Hašek experienced personally. He didn't like being alone, and always tried to associate with people, among whom he tried to find those who could tell interesting stories about their life, and later he could use them in his stories or the great work about Soldier Svejk. The only Czech museum devoted to the author of Svejk is situated in Lipnitz, nad Sazovu village. Now it is being repaired. The revolutionary heritage by Hašek is in the red corner, but there are no materials from Kazakhstan yet. However, the writer's great-grandson is confident that they will certainly appear there. First photos from Petropavlovsk should be here. Merchant Smolin's house, where the Red Army political department was situated, was the place where the writer worked. It will be here in Kazakhstan. The writer was in Petropavlovsk and Kustanai. Perhaps he was in other Kazakhstan cities and villages, but unfortunately no family legends about it have remained. In the recollections Hašek wrote, in the Czech Republic he mentioned the land of camels, and it is certain that he found out about it in Kazakhstan. Let's, however, continue in accordance with the paperback chronology. There is a series of amusing events which Svejk encountered. At one time he was a batman of a military priest who gambled away his soldier, then he was sentenced to be shot, promoted to be company striker and sent to war as a soldier of the regiment number 91. It was that very regiment where the writer had served. In general, the good soldier liked saying that anybody is interested in going to foreign lands free of charge.
Послушайте, Швейк, как вы думаете, долго нам еще воевать?
Chapter 2. Foreign lands. Finally, a draft referring to drinking in alphabetical order written by a volunteer was approved. The volunteer based his draft on the fact that having a certain surname can also shape your destiny. As for the surnames, Hašek used the real surnames almost for all of his characters. There really was a person named Joseph Svejk, however the main prototype was the author himself. Image of Svejk is the image that demonstrates the idiocy of the army command and control system. The system was designed in such a way that it itself acted as a destructive agent. Today we will start studying tactics for yielding ourselves prisoners to the Russians with no great loss. The medals are being looked over as if they were recollections. This is the infantry regiment number 91. According to Jaroslav Hašek, his grandfather did not talk about this period a lot. He was a prisoner and fought in the Civil War. However, he memorized very well the stories about his comrade in arms Hašek written by his namesake. This writer's description of the war is completely different from historians. He made jokes about it and ridiculed the war. The first prisoners of war were brought in August 1914. According to the data referring to December 1914, the number of Austro-Hungarian citizens in Kazakhstan amounted to 16,000 people. They were placed in Akmolinsk, Petropavlovsk, Ust-Kamenogorsk and other cities. In due time, as part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, they supported the enemy, which was Germany, and Czech soldiers. However, Hašek and many of his brothers-in-arms didn't want to go to war. Not only had the whole company surrendered, for instance, the whole 1st Regiment of Prague surrendered to music together with the regimental band. They almost sang when they were surrendering to the Russian army in 1915. However, it wasn't because they were cowards. On the contrary, they found this war extremely unfair. Approximately at that time, Svejk and Hašek partied. The good soldier was captured by friendly troops due to misunderstanding, while the writer surrendered to the Russian troops. He spent a few months in a camp situated in Orenburg steppes and then joined a legion, Jan Hus regiment. However, the satirist did not remain a legionary for a long time. Then the October Revolution broke out. Soon after that, this Czechoslovak corps declared that it was a part of the French army and joined the counter-revolution. The revolution shaped the destinies of Hašek and his grandfather in different ways. František Zavíška fought alongside the White Guard. My grandfather fought in such Kazakhstan cities as Astana. I do not remember the name this city had before. If I'm not mistaken, he fought somewhere near Petropavlovsk and Pavlodar. Rebel Hašek joined the opposite side. In 1918, he was in Moscow, Lenin, and on returning to Siberia in the spring, the writer left a letter of resignation from the Legion, joined the Communist Party and formed Czech and Slovak Red Square. By June 1918, the White Guard had come to power in the region. When Czech soldiers captured him, he pretended that he was a mad son of a German from Turkestan. It took Hašek 3 months to get to the friendly troops. In the autumn of 1918, the author of Svejk, as a soldier of the Army No. 5, went to the places where the prisoners of war were. These cities were Omsk, Petropavlovsk, Ust-Kamenogorsk and Kustanai. He did political work in Tukhachevsky's army. In the beginning, he was just a member and then became the head of the foreign division of the political department. It turned out that Hašek was a talented propagandist. Once he managed to attract a group of Turkish prisoners to the Bolsheviks. He could speak many languages quite well, spoke Tatar and certainly understood Kazakh. 720 foreign volunteers were won over. Only a few documents about his stay in Kustanai have remained. According to one of them, he held rally concerts for former prisoners of war. There were Czechoslovak military reserve units and Czech orchestra consisting of 60 members, so he had enough work there. Although there were few people here, he paid attention to everyone. At the same time, he published a few newspapers which were in the Hungarian, Russian, Tatar, German and even Buryat languages. His articles were often published, but many materials have not been found yet. Perhaps the reason for this was the fact that Hašek had about 80 pseudonyms. He combined propaganda and writer's tasks with administrative ones. Chapter 3. Unfinished novel. In complete sobriety, he said that he'd spent 5 happy years abroad. In 1920, Hašek went to his homeland to build communism there. He took felt boots, the balalaika, his new wife, and the most important was... The most essential was that he brought from Siberia the idea of writing a long novel about Svejk and realization of what Svejk's destiny would be like. The district chief and I often said that the real weapons of war are patriotism, devotion to duty and self-improvement. I remind you about it today, as our troops will cross the border quite soon. These were the last words from the Good Soldier Svejk, and his fortunes, which extremely weak Jaroslav Hašek could dictate. He asked to bring him some brandy, but was given some milk instead. "You fool me," the writer said sadly. Lipnitz nad Sazovu was the last place of refuge for the author of Immortal Svejk. In fact, his return was not easy. A lot of people didn't understand him, and I think that his life in Prague was very difficult. Nobody was waiting to welcome him. Czech newspapers repeatedly published dedications to Hašek. According to one obituary notice, he had been killed by drunken sailors in Odessa. The others said that wild nomads had killed him. Only a few people knew about Prague and other countries Hašek had visited. There is a lot of far-fetched information about Hašek's stay in Kazakhstan. It really was invented, and perhaps by Hašek himself. In addition, they could not forgive him for his communistic past. They attributed to him reprisals against his colleagues from the Legion and executions of religious figures. However, he played hoaxes so often that it is impossible to guess what the truth is and what was confabulated. In addition, despite being so prolific, Jaroslav Hašek left surprisingly few lines about this period of his life. However, there is a mysterious version. Epilogue. Svejk in the country of the Bolsheviks. My great-grandfather was interested in a completely different nature and culture. Vast expanses attracted him, and this impression about Kazakhstan enchants me too. I just inherited it in some way. Hašek's great-grandson thinks that it is quite possible that Svejk could play the dobra because the writer endowed him with musical talent, and for sure the man who liked Hungarian sausages could not be indifferent to Kazi. However, the problem is that a lot of writers' materials, perhaps, were classified. He asked to establish a secret department in order to fight spies from the Czechoslovak Corps, and he carried out the tasks the Emergency Operation Commission set him. Perhaps it is kept in some dusty boxes. It is said that the information about this manuscript was known even in Prague. Supposedly, the publishers paid for it in advance. Apart from pre-war stories, the first one, entitled Svejk in the country of Bolsheviks, was a novel about a brave soldier's adventures in Siberia and Kazakhstan. For the first time, a limited edition of this book was published in the printing house of the Fifth Army's political department. Supposedly, an acquaintance of the writer even got the author's version. The thick book was printed on rough grey paper. This book, written in the manner typical of Hašek, was about how Svejk became a Red Army soldier. Alarm bells are ringing. Svejk had passed away, but in the map board he will wait for better days. Hašek is cleaning his gun. and reluctantly wakes up the Red Army soldiers.